Hi everyone. So in this tutorial we are going to learn how to create interactive dashboards through the pivot table and pivot charts. So this is going to be very helpful in your corporate presentations also, or wherever you work in future. So let's start with it. So this is the data that is given to us. So let's turn it into a table. I'll just press Control T, or let me just select any cell here in the table and I'll press Control T. So it will ask me where is the data for your table, and I'll check on my data table has headers. I'll press OK. So see, now this is turned into a simple table. Now the next thing I want to do is I'll convert it into a pivot table. So I'll go to Insert, Pivot Table. So since I've already selected a cell in the table, it will automatically detect the table, and you can see a dotted line here. So this is my table range, and I'll choose a new worksheet for my pivot table. And keep in mind that in your table there should not be any blank cell, or if you have columns such as order date. So in any cell pertaining to order date you should not have entered text, or it should not be blank. Otherwise pivot table will not work very effectively. So let's just click on this one. So I have my pivot table here. Let's say the first thing that I want in my dashboard is that what are my total annual sales, year wise sales, right? So let's just quickly create a pivot table for that. So for that I will need my order dates and my revenue. So if I see in this columns, in the list of variables, I don't have any revenue column here, or the variable here. That means I need to create it. So for that I will go to Analyze. I'll click on Field, Items and Sets. So I'll go to Calculate Field. So let's name it as Revenue. Now I'll have to enter the formula for this. So my revenue will be my unit price into the quantity. So this is my unit price here. Click on Insert Field, then press the product and I'll select quantity. Click on Add. So press OK. So you see now revenue has been selected here. So this has been added here, and if I remove it and I can select it again. So by default Excel will give you sum of revenue. If you want, you can have an average of revenue also. You can have count of revenue also by going to value field settings. Now in rows we want our order date. So let's look for that. So here we have our order date, right? So you see this is year wise data. Let's say I want it month wise. So I'll just right click here, and you have group and ungroup here. So in earlier versions of Excel, if somebody has previous to 2010, so they might get order dates also, individual order dates also. So how to change that? You can click on either group or ungroup. See, now I've got the dates. Now if I want it in monthly format, so this I'll click on group and I'll select months and I'll press OK. So now I have month wise data for all the years, since this is a sum. So the next thing that I want is my pivot chart. So let's have a line chart for this, because that will be the most suitable one. So you can select any one chart. I'll just go by this one. So I'll have to now format this. So let's get rid of these. So I'll hide all field buttons on chart. Then let's get rid of this also. I'll delete the grid lines because they look ugly, and I'll delete this also. Let's rename it as total sales by year, right? So let me close this. Now I'll want to add my data labels to this. So if you see, these data labels are quite cumbersome, so we need to change them, right? So I'll go to more options and let's go to label options here. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to specify that this is in currency format, right? And I can select any currency. For now I've selected the Indian rupee. Then I can fix my decimal places to 0. And there's one trick to shorten this data because this is very cumbersome. So before comma I will select the values and delete them, and I'll write K here. Let me add it. So now you see these values have automatically reduced, and now they have a K or the 1000 term in the end, right? So we have simplified it. So now that we can close it. So the data labels, let's try some other format. If we place it below, let's go by the below only, and we can edit 1 or 2 values here. Yeah, so more or less now we have less mess around our data. So I can change the color of this line also. So I'll go to, let's select this color, right? So now this looks much better. So I'll just copy this. Let me create a new sheet and we will rename this as our dashboard. So I'll let me just select this whole sheet and we can either give it a white color or we can give some other color, whichever we want, right? And let me give it a title. We'll write sales dashboard. So I'll merge and center and let's increase its size. Right. Now let me paste my graph here. Just a second. Yeah, I think here it is fine. This line has come down a little bit for me. You can place it a little upwards, right? So let's not waste time on editing. So you can do this in your free time, right? Now let's go back to our sheet 1. So as I've told you in the previous video also, you need to copy the same sheet so that the source of your pivot table remains the same. So I'll just press Ctrl and click on this sheet, and as soon as I get this sign, just a second. So I'm not getting this sign. Yeah. See, now I've created a copy. There is another way also of creating a copy. You can just right click and create a copy. So let's name this sheet 1 as my annual sales, and the second sheet we will treat as sales rep data. So since this is a copy only, I'll delete this one. Now we can go back to our pivot table. I'll go to field list. So the next thing that we need for a dashboard is that the amount of revenue that has been individually earned by different sales representatives, right? So for that, let me select sum of revenue in values column, and here we will go by the name of the salesperson. So this is full name STR. So these are my salesperson, and this is the amount of revenue that they have earned. Now let's get a pivot table for this, or pivot chart I mean. So I think a bar graph will be a good representation here. Press OK. Let me resize it. Now we need to format this table. We'll start by hiding all the field buttons. Let's delete this. We'll delete the grid lines also. Let me rename it as sales by reps or the representatives. Now let me delete. Let's say we want this data in top to low or top to bottom order. So I will sort this from largest to smallest, so that I know that Mrs. Margaret is giving us the highest amount of revenue, right? Now if you see here it is ascending to descending, so I need to change the order here also. So I'll click on the vertical axis, I'll go to format axis, and here I will check mark categories in reverse order. So now this looks better. Let me just delete this. Yeah. So we can reduce the gap width also. So now this looks better, and we can change the color also. So for that we need to go to format. Let me go to shape fill, and we can select any color that we want. So let's go by this color. So I'll just copy this chart and again go to my dashboard, and I'll paste it here. So sales rep data, or let's keep it here. So I think it looks better like this. So we can add 2 more charts in this, so that we will do in the part B. This was part A. So keep watching the next video.